Hare Krishna. Question: how much should a Grihastha plan for financial security and how much depend on Krishna? Answer: the two are not mutually contradictory or exclusive. Planning for financial security can also be a part of one's service to Krishna. Surrender to Krishna is not passive. Yes, one way Draupadi surrendered to Krishna is just raise her hands up. It's Krishna, help me. But when Arjuna is actively fighting a war, pursuing his Kshatriya dharma, he's also surrendering to Krishna. So, first and foremost, we shouldn't think of these two as contradictory. In the Mahabharata, when Narad Muni is instructing Yudhishthir Maharaj about the duties of a householder, he explains that in the Grihastha ashram, one has these three purusharthas to pursue: dharma, artha, and kama. Ultimately, the goal is moksha, but dharma, artha, kama, when it is being pursued, they have to be pursued in a balanced way. He says one should not pursue dharma so much that one neglects artha and kama. One should not pursue artha so much that one neglects dharma and kama, and one should not pursue kama so much that one neglects dharma and artha. So in today's society, most people pursue artha so much that they often neglect their families. They work for a very long time, and of course, so they neglect even their spiritual life. And many people delay getting married, and then they have various kinds of premarital relationships with others. So there they are pursuing kama, and they are neglecting dharma, and they are neglecting. Many people ruin their careers just because they have some affairs and they get scandalized. So they neglect artha also. So there has to be balance between dharma, artha, and kama. Now, what will that balance mean? That will vary from individual to individual, because different people are of different natures. They come from different backgrounds. They have different interests. So a balance between dharma, artha, and kama for a brahmana will be different from a balance between dharma, artha, and kama for a kshatriya. A kshatriya has to rule and kshatriya lives in opulence, whereas a brahmana has to teach primary, and a brahmana normally lives in simplicity. So now it's in Kali Yuga, it's difficult to determine one's varna, and therefore it is difficult to know what exactly one's balance for dharma, artha, and kama will be. So one has to individually decide that. Individually deciding that means that we have to have time for our basic sadhana, and along with that we also want to take up more and more service for Krishna, because that direct connection with Krishna helps in speedy spiritual advancement. At the same time, especially if one is in Grihastha ashram, one cannot neglect artha. So preparing for financial security is a part of artha. And Srila Prabhupada himself gives the example of how there should be saving. Now, Prabhupada gives a particular percentage that there should be some charity given, some use for expenses, and a significant amount of saving should be done. So the point is, Prabhupada also talks about the importance of some level of financial planning and also preparing for future emergencies through security. So in general, what is the level of security that one should, financial security that one should strive for? That will vary depending on one's capacity for earning and capacity for taking up the workload and the anxiety associated with it. Now, different people can take up, first and foremost is how much one wants to focus on spiritual life. And generally, if we want to focus more on spiritual life, we have to spend more time on it. That means we would have less time for our material profession. So there are different kinds of job which require different level, different amount of time and different levels of attention to it. And one will choose a vocation accordingly, so that one will have the arrangement of finances properly, as well as the adequate time for spiritual life. That there is no precise balance for this, but the basic principle is that one should not take there is manageable anxiety and there is unmanageable anxiety. Suppose we have to carry some luggage. So then most of us can carry 5 kgs, whatever, few kgs, 10. So different people may be able to carry 5 kg, some may be able to carry 7 kg, 10 kg. Some people may be able to carry even much bigger weights. So like that, different people can manage, can live with different levels of anxiety. So some people can take up jobs which are extremely demanding and still maintain a reasonable calm by which they can also practice spiritual life. Other people, they find it difficult to have that level of demanding jobs, and then also to be calm, it keeps them constantly stressed. So we are losing not only on spiritual advancement, but even on material peace, to for just to pursue a more demanding job. So if that's not one's nature, now it's not necessarily a disqualification that if one is not able to cope up with a lot of anxiety. Some people can do multitasking. Some people want to focus on one thing. It's just a matter of individual nature. It's not necessary that one is better than the other. It's just that there is a difference. So one has to recognize one's own nature and accordingly decide this. So often Narad Muni says in that 7th canto that when a person is in the Grahastha, one will always get advice for making financial improvements. Do this, why don't you try that, why don't you try that? And he says that one should politely nod one's head when one gets such advice, and one should continue practicing one's spiritual life. That means one should not let one's definition of success be determined by others. Now, we have our relationship with Krishna and we have our own individual nature. So based on that, we can decide, okay, this is the level of financial strength or security that I am looking for. And even if people tell me you work more, you can earn more, you can do this, you can do that, I'm not going to go in that direction. Now what would be that level be? That will vary. There are basic things which are required in Grahastha ashram. Ato graha kshetra sutapta vittair. So one needs a home, one needs, that is graha kshetra. One needs some kshetra refers to field, but generically it refers to a source of livelihood. For farmers it would be a field. Suta apta vittair. So one has, after one gets married, one has children, and then one has relatives also. So in Grahastha life there are natural issues that are going to come up. One has to take care of one's spouse, one has to take care of one's children, one needs a house. So whatever financial demands are there, one cannot be unrealistic and say that, oh, Krishna will take care of everything. Now Krishna has given us an intelligence by which we can take care of it. So when Arjuna is fighting a war, even when he is doing direct devotional service to Krishna, he is not thinking that he is trained himself to be militarily competent. He was an excellent archer, and then he is fighting the war. So he's not just neglecting the material reality while in the name of devotional service. So there are realistic issues that are going to come up, and for that one has to have realistic plans. Now of course some people can go into a zone of worrying too much about the future problems, and then the plan for future security can become endless. There is no end to how much we may feel may be enough. So we can't foresee what kind of problems may come in the future. And whatever realistic problems, whatever realistic issues are going to come, we prepare for that. We have some savings for it. But beyond that, we can't perceive every foreseeable issue. And in general, whatever level we fix, we decide we are going to live at, it is good that we have Sajatiya Shasnigdha Sangha. As Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says that, the association of like-minded devotees. That means devotees who also have a similar level of spiritual commitment. If there are devotees who are focusing much more on financial security, then they will constantly make us feel insecure. That should I be doing this, should I be doing that, maybe I should be doing that. So like that insecurity will come up. So first point is that one should take up manageable anxiety. Second point is that one should have association with like-minded devotees, and thereafter decide what is the level of likely financial requirements that are going to come up, and prepare for that and have some savings on a regular basis. And ultimately we depend on Krishna. But the point is, dependence on Krishna is not passive, and it is by no means a license for negligence of one's material life. And as long as a devotee is pursuing one's material life and arranging for financial security, one should not see that as divorced from one's devotional service. Ultimately, Krishna says, Swakarmana tam abhyarcha, by your work, worship him. So we can have two attitudes towards the world. One is that it's a place of entanglement, it's a place of anxiety and irritation, and a place of forgetfulness of Krishna. And that's a jnani perspective, that a very negative perspective towards the world. The karmi perspective is very positive. Oh, this is the arena where all my dreams will be fulfilled, and this is where I will become happy, I'll become victorious, and I will receive accolades from the whole world. The bhakti perspective is that the world is also an arena for service. So as long as we are working in the world, we need to also have a positive attitude towards it. Not positive in the sense that just our worldly activities will make us happy and that we don't need God. Rather, positive in the sense that we recognize that this is also an arena where I can serve Krishna. And we have to earn a living, but rather than seeing that only as an obligation or only as a burden or only as a distraction from our spiritual life, we can see that also as an opportunity to depend more on Krishna through the activities that we are doing. So if we have a good sadhana, then after that our basic consciousness becomes spiritual, and then we can work in the world also without having to become entangled in it. Now we see Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a responsible officer, and now we can focus on his transcendental achievements and says, in spite of being such a responsible officer, he was able to do so much more. So that is of course his prodigious capacity. But at the same time, the point was he took up a responsible position in the worldly situation. He was a magistrate, and it was a demanding job. It would cause anxieties naturally, but he dealt with that and he did it well. So as devotees, the basic attitude should be that there are some activities which connect me with Krishna directly, and there are some activities which connect me with Krishna indirectly. And the direct activities should get adequate time, like our sadhana and sadhu sangha. But along with that, the indirect activities should not just be completely neglected or seen negatively. They also can be seen positively, that they are also an arena for devotional service to Krishna. And that way, for a devotee, the making the arrangements for financial security does not become divorced from devotional service, but also becomes integrated with one's devotional service. Yes, that is also one way by which I am taking care of the family that Krishna has entrusted me, and I am utilizing whatever abilities Krishna has given me, and I am earning resources which I am also using ultimately for serving Krishna in various ways. So that way, by recognizing that it is also devotional service, we can have a more positive attitude. And of course, we need to take precautions so that we don't get carried away by the mode of passion while we are engaging in that. And thereby, we can work in the long run towards financial security as well as devotional security. That means we strengthen our relationship with Krishna and develop our faith in him and get inner strength and peace by that connection, irrespective of what is happening in our material life. But at the same time, whatever likely issues are going to come in material life, we are not caught unprepared because of negligence in the name of transcendence. And regarding specifics about what one should not do, one should use one's experience, and if required, consult some senior devotee who is mature and can guide, and move forward with one's life. But broadly, we should see everything as a part of devotional service with different levels of connection, and accordingly mold our life to go closer and closer to Krishna constantly. Thank you. Hare Krishna.